Good morning, everybody. This is Gleason with Startuptrading.com. It is Thursday, June 4th, 2020. This morning we had Red Star news events out of the Eurozone with the monetary policy statement and the main refinancing rate. We also had the ECB press conference an hour before the bell, unemployment claims, and Canadian trade balance. So big moves in some of the currencies here. After the bell opens at 10:30, we're going to have natural gas storage. And then we are going to have nothing really heavy for the U.S., just out of the Aussie markets. We have news at 6:30 this evening. The Canadian markets, 2 p.m., we have Governor Council member Gravel speaking. And then household spending out of the Japanese yen at 7:30. Tomorrow morning and in the overnight session, our biggest news events are going to be at 8:30. It's the employment change and unemployment rate for the Canadian markets, as well as the unemployment rate and non-farm employment change for the U.S. markets at 8:30. So an hour before the bell, and that is one of the more significant news events for the week. Let's begin here by taking a look at the S&P 500. I'm just going to get rid of these draws on my screen to show you guys like a blank slate. This is a setup I put in the laser setup section, and I want to talk about on the higher time frame what this is. So coming out of our lows, just to review this daily sequence, we had this 50% retracement that actually ignored this March 23rd low. And we held that halfway back. We completed targets, we blew through targets, and then we moved into an extension from that level. So we had an extension, trade once to target, same anchor new high, traded target, same anchor new high, went sideways, and then completed profit targets. We had then had a new extension, went sideways, and then completed profit target. So we completed this last major target, which was up at 30.43 last week. When we completed those 30.43s and we went through those 30.43s, there was actually the possibility, and what had become at the time, it was the previous high from 29.65 to high. That was our extension. And if you look at the market, we came into that extension in the overnight session. We bid off it, and then in the morning, during the day, basically we broke it. There was never a close below that level, but this is a pretty significant sequence. Anyway, everybody who sold below that 61.8 was wrong, and then in fact we opened here Sunday night and we held above that 61.8. Now the high of the market, like to the tick, where we've rejected from here is this negative 61, which I'm pointing out because I find it interesting. So moving forward, we're going to come into, I believe, this extension again. Now, it might be right now, it might be later, but sooner or later, I do believe this extension will trade in the future. And it is a pretty significant higher time frame. It's a daily level that I just wanted to point out here. So that's a 30.66 half and a 30.47. Those are the two levels that we would look at: 30.66 half and 30.47 quarter. And if I go, I'm just going to go back. These are all of the other drawings that I have. Now, if there is another sequence that's going to hold us and lead us higher, if you go back to the May 14th low, we had this 50% retracement that blew through profit targets into an extension. That extension had a same anchor new high that traded on the 27th, and then we blew through that high. So the 30.35 high to high, this is the most aggressive sequence I'm paying attention to right now. The 50% retracement is 30.82, and you can actually see the overnight lows are right here at this 30.93 half zone. Now, coming out of yesterday, we had these extensions. It was extension to extension into a new extension. That completed targets off of 38.2. We had the same anchor new high. Trade its 50% retracement. Right at the overnight session open, we failed to break out into a new high, and we have not gotten back above, since the break, we have not gotten back above the 50% retracement short. So just something to pay attention to. We were front run the last time on this 50% retracement short. So I do think we will see, just this general area of some resistance up at like 31.20. I'm not going to draw up the full 50% retracement short just because it's just not something. I'm not even going to attempt to draw it because we do have support levels before. We've been coming off support levels, but we did break the most aggressive long trend yesterday. So I'm just going to be aware of potential resistance levels above. But really what I'm waiting for is us to just come into some support levels below that I have gone over. And it'll just be a waiting game for the S&P. Now, if you do look at the Dow is a totally different sequence on the higher time frame. Now, to back out here to the daily, we have this extension in the Dow, and it was from April 16th high to high. Now we pulled back into those levels Friday. We traded them, we stuck them, we completed to and through our targets yesterday, and we actually have an extension to extension. And this extension to extension here, it's a daily extension. It's from a daily high, it's from the high of May 28th to high, is very clean. We came down, we traded our 50% retracement, and we are bullish above 26,005. We are bullish above 26,005. Our upside target is 26,474. With the Nasdaq also still holding the same sequence as yesterday, so there is higher time frame support levels below, but right now we're just going to continue to pay attention to what we have, which is we have an upside target of 97.40 quarter. Coming out of the low of Tuesday, there was a pullback on the 5-minute chart, halfway back, blows through targets. We have an extension, blows through our profit targets, and that same anchor, new high, traded yesterday at its 38% retracement, and we have just retested that 38. If you draw that also to the new high, and just know where those levels come in, you could also argue that the 50 is just being front run. But I'm going to use a bullish above line in the sand to the new high here. For this specific sequence, we are bullish above a 96.21, and our upside targets are 97.40 from Tuesday's pullback, and then we have higher time frame targets above that. I do believe this 97.63 is it's the previous high of the year, in fact all time. So the all-time high of the Nasdaq futures market is about 100 points above us, and that's this orange dotted line. Moving on to the oil market. The oil market has this 50% retracement from the swing high of the May 21st to high. Now, yesterday we actually pierced that 61, but then as soon as we broke above the opposing short, that long re-engaged, and you can see that 36.42 has come in, and there's buyers at that level. The upside target is 39.01 with a bullish above 36. The USD JPY just dropped this morning in the laser setup. It's the same new high sequence. Very, very clean touch so far here. We had this higher time frame 50% retracement long trade on Friday. Now the important note here is that it was front run by 4. And when you see that front run by 4 followed up by a really aggressive bid, that's usually the direction we're going. If you just think about this pattern, it's kind of interesting. We spent, like a week and a half consolidating sideways. We come into the halfway back long. It's a front run of 4 pips. And then it's a rocket ship in the morning. It's a rocket ship out of that. That bid started at 9 a.m. The bid coming out of Tuesday started at 7 a.m. That was super aggressive. These are big range expanding moves, and this is usually signifying the beginning of a bigger trend. Just look how clean this chart is. Very aggressive move up, consolidation through the highs, very aggressive move up. We begin extensions. We already completed it once to target. This is the same anchor new high. It was a 108.62. I posted it this morning in the chat room. The upside target is a 109.41. Moving on to the Aussie dollar, which also is inside of a daily extension. Now, we have yet to trade the 50% retracement. We have a more aggressive bid right now at the 68.66s, and I am going to will be willing to participate on that on a second test at 68.66. We have broken above the opposing short. There's definitely some resistance levels up here. I expect a little more of a sideways movement over the next couple days, with us first checking 68.66 and then potentially that 68.31 in the Aussie dollar. And then moving on to the euro, which has two different extensions. One is obviously more conservative than the other, but the extension to extension. So let's just talk about back out here a bit. We had this pretty big 50% retracement on the 25th of May, and that just turned this thing around and started taking it higher. We then had an extension from the high of 110.07 to high. That blew through targets, and we began a highs to highs extension. And off that ECB press conference, you had that spike, and then we had just to that new high, came back into our 38. Our upside targets are a 113. These currencies are really getting strong against the US dollar, the euro, the pound, the Aussie dollar. They have been the best trends, the most aggressive trends, the cleanest trends, the best reactions all week long. For those of you guys who don't know, if you're trading the corresponding futures, for the euro, it's 6E. For the pound, it is 6B. For the Aussie dollar, it's 6A. For the Canadian dollar, 6C, so on and so forth. But these have been really great trends. This was the extension here in the pound, which was from the 123.62 to high. We've traded that 50% retracement at 125.18. We've reacted off of that level, and the 50% retracement is a 124.88. But we've already traded the 38 twice here, reacted both times, and that's all you need to get partial targets off, half off, etc. 124.88 is support if we come down into it, and the upside target is at 126.74. 126.74. Moving on to the USDCAD. Yesterday we had the extension from Friday's low to low, trade its 38% retracement. This morning we had that trade balance number in the CAD, and that kind of spiked us up higher, but we're definitely still in a downtrend here. There is a speaker tomorrow or today for the USDCAD, possibly. I think it was at 2 o'clock. I think that could maybe move the markets. Our downside targets, based off where we came off of on Wednesday, are 134.28. And then as a reminder, tomorrow we're going to have the unemployment change and the unemployment rate. The employment change and the unemployment rate for the Canadian dollar, which is a Red Star News event. So that'll move that market. And then last but not least, gold and silver and our precious metals. We are inside of, on the daily, just this massive consolidation. This is actually a weekly chart, but we are just sideways, and really until this weekly starts getting above 1760 or below 1680. That's a pretty big range, right? We're not going to break out of it, and we're just going from the top of the range to the bottom of the range, from the top of the range to the bottom of the range, and the most recent touch is the bottom of the range. So I want to pay attention to a couple things. One, the full 50% retracement short right now has not technically traded. It's been front run, which is good for this long setup, because if we don't trade the full 50% retracement short, that means that if the long trades and then we move back up through the short, people will have their stops above this high and we'll be able to get through it. So what I'm paying attention to here is the full halfway back at 17.079. I want to make sure I actually have that totally drawn correctly, but if we can trade that today, that would be fantastic, especially if it trades like very close to the open. That would be a fantastic long setup that I'm looking for. And then silver, staying away from it right now. There is an extension short. The only thing I'm interested in is if we come back down to 1762 right now. Otherwise, I just think it's a little messy. We have an extension short, traded really clean. There was a huge breakdown yesterday, as well as Tuesday. So it was like an extension to target. We had same anchor new low. You know, you could argue the same anchor new low at 1818. Yeah, at 1818, that's definitely a pretty significant resistance level. It's the same anchor new low. It's a 50% retracement. It lines up with the previous low. There's definitely resistance there. But 1762 half and 1818, the only two levels. I'm just playing the outer edges of these ranges that I'm interested in. Everything in between here, I'm not going to get caught up in. And then just an interesting note, this VIX. So just from this last massive swing high on, what was that, Thursday the 14th, there was a 50% retracement short that completed targets. Yeah, that next halfway back short, that technically came just shy of the targets, and then we had that high to low. It's a little sloppy here, but we completed those targets. So ideally, whenever we run into our index support, just on the higher time frame, this 29 level is a pretty significant resistance level for the VIX. We're obviously far away from it, but if it at one point, whatever it does trade, that is going to be, based on the current trend we have in the indexes, it'll be a sell in the VIX and a buy in the indexes. And we don't know where the ES will be when that trades, but there'll be an arbitrage between the VIX going short and the ES going long. So just moving into the day, some of the setups that I'm really interested in are that higher time frame ES. If we can get there, I don't know if we will. The currencies remain incredibly technical. Their targets are huge, and the dollar is really falling against them. If we can get this pullback in gold, I think it's money. This higher time frame silver setup is very significant. The 1762, be laser focused on that. And that's all I have here for the day. I will share my levels with everyone who's in my trade room. If you enjoyed this content, please give this video a thumbs up. Feel free to share this video with anybody who might be interested in either learning to trade or learning technical analysis. Everybody trade safe, have a great day, and I'll go live at 9:30 in the trade room. Take care.